Stay with us. Now we move on to our next news. In US, dozens of protesters took to the streets this 4th of July for a Free America protest, denouncing President Donald Trump's policies. Demonstrators in Alaska and Washington, D.C. voiced opposition to public sector cuts, rising income inequality, and migrant restrictions, one of several Independence Day protests nationwide. In Columbus, Ohio, protesters lined streets near the State House to rally against Trump's newly signed Big Beautiful Bill, a sweeping package of tax and spending cuts. Some held signs and chanted, "No Kings," pushing back against what they call authoritarian overreach. And in Miami, Floridans gathered at the city's Torch of Friendship to protest both the president and the controversial alligator Alcatraz Migrant Detention Center, located deep in the Florida Everglades. Protesters stood in the rain carrying signs that read, "Remove Trump and stop this Nazi stuff," amid growing concerns over immigration crackdowns tied to new federal spending. Now we're back, joined by Joshua Barnes, anchor and correspondent. Joshua, what more can you tell us about this protest ongoing in US in the middle of 4th of July?
Well, yes, Suma, 4th of July to Americans is an extremely significant day. It is, of course, American Independence Day and is celebrated across the country. Trump himself held a special event where he signed his big, beautiful bill, and Trump's recent actions have led to protests across the United States. We've seen a wave of protests, No Kings protests against immigration arrests, which took place in Los Angeles, and now further protests about separate issues. Alligator Alcatraz is one that you mentioned, this new migrant housing site, which Trump himself has said is surrounded by alligators, pythons, and a swamp, has been set up as a deterrent, but also as a site that could hold up to 5,000 migrants. Also protests about Trump's big, beautiful bill, of course, a big tax and spending bill, which would see a tax relief for workers on tips and overtime, but also mass spending on immigration and military activity as well. It's seen as a bill by experts potentially that's going to benefit the richest the most, but Trump himself saying that America will be flying like a rocket ship after this bill has been signed. There is clear discontent in the United States amongst some groups of people. Of course, Democrats voting down this bill unanimously in both the Senate and the House. The Senate vote was tied at 50-50, but US Vice President J.D. Vance getting that deciding vote, as is the rule in the Senate with 100 senators at play. There were also a couple of defectors from the Republicans who weren't happy with the bill in the House of Representatives, but that went through with a slightly easier margin for the president. It is controversial. It is a big spend, and it could see over $3 trillion added to US debt. And Trump has talked about cost-cutting. The Department of Government Efficiency, at one point headed by Elon Musk, was looking at cost-cutting, so that there have been conflicts within Trump's top team and confidants and allies as well. But the discourse is there, but there is also still a vast amount of support for Donald Trump. He was very clear that immigration was a key policy during the election campaign. He won that election rather unanimously, winning the House, the Senate, popular votes at that point, and also the presidency. So this was his goal, this was his aim. He's now pushing that forward and moving through with his tax cuts that he introduced in his first term in 2017, them now becoming law. Of course, there will be people that disagree, people that agree, but clearly those that do disagree enough to the point where they are holding these protests. There could be more to come, the fallout of this big, beautiful bill being enacted as well. We wait to see, and we'll bring you that here on NewsX World.
Thank you, Joshua. You will stay with us as we move on to our next news. US President Donald